We're going to break down what maturity actually is, which is going to help you identify what it isn't. Maturity is intangible. So where do we find this maturity that we can't touch, we can't point to? Well, we can feel it, can't we? We can observe maturity in demonstration. Ours and other people, if they are to show us maturity in action. Every day we have an opportunity to meet ourselves with maturity. Let's break down what that actually is. So these are some qualities, if you will, that typically prove or show that maturation, maturity, is an undertaking, is happening. Number 1, emotional regulation. Now, stay with me if you have trouble emotionally regulating right now. So a mature person can recognize, understand, and manage their emotions, especially in stressful situations. They're less likely to react impulsively. They're less likely to let their emotions be the controllers of their behaviors, their actions. Instead, maturity tends to respond thoughtfully, even when things are difficult. Now, people with post-traumatic stress symptoms, which are a lot of you listening, let me explain for you and to you by sharing some of my story. But for many years, my mind absolutely possessed the maturity to understand fully that it was my job to manage my emotions, no matter the stress level. But what I had to understand was that my body did not process or take into account what my mind knew in the moment of my body getting triggered. See, all the trauma I grew up with, all the unsafety in my own home that I grew up with, not having a soft place to fall, having a lot of hardship, a lot of abandonment, a lot of pain, a lot of violation and betrayal. My body learned in an attempt to take care of me that it needed to just react. It needed to freeze sometimes. It needed to fight sometimes. And it needed to fly sometimes. It needed to run. Because my body learned that almost every day of my development, here I am as an adult, understanding in my mind what it is to regulate my emotions, but being unable to do so in the moment of getting triggered. My nervous system was doing its best effort to try to protect me by sending me into fight or flight. But it actually was overprotecting me. So if this is you right now, please offer some understanding to yourself, some self-compassion. That post-traumatic stress symptoms are sort of a severing of mind and body, and healing is about uniting them and getting them to work together again so that my body can actually hear this wisdom and this logic and respond to it instead of whatever stressor is attempting to trigger me in the moment. Here's the second thing I have for you when it comes to maturing. Self-reflection. Y'all, self-reflection. We all know what that means. Not always fun, but boy, is it necessary. Maturity involves being able to reflect on one's own actions, our choices, our behaviors, the decisions we've made in the past that are done, that are settled, that we have to deal with the consequences now. A mature person will take responsibility for their mistakes, will learn from them and use those lessons to grow. Think of the people in your personal life and world who don't self-reflect at all, who don't learn from mistakes, who blame outwardly in refusal to look at their own part or contribution. Codependent people out there, raise your hand if you're recovering from codependency and listen closely. You can only mature yourself. You cannot make someone else mature. You cannot make someone else want to mature. We can explore reflection on the world stage too. Think about the difference you have felt in your body when a celebrity, let's say, gives one of those public relations company approved apologies that feel pretty empty, contrived, performative, instead of from an honest, reflection and acknowledgement of a mistake, of a lesson learned? Which one actually resonates with you? Which one is suggestive of real maturity versus sweeping it under the rug and just trying to get away with it? Number 3, accountability through radical personal responsibility. This is how we become more mature, y'all. Accountability. A mature person is accountable for their actions and decisions, both good and bad. So celebrate the wins, y'all. Own your wins, but also own your mess ups. People who lean into a victim mentality sort of only look at their mess ups, but not in a way that learns from self-reflection, more in a way that wallows. Mature people own their mistakes and don't blame others when things go wrong. They don't make excuses, and they don't pick fights as a distraction from taking responsibility. Be honest with yourself here, y'all. I had to be very honest, and it's uncomfortable to be so honest with ourselves. I certainly understand why people shirk some of these things. It's not comfortable to mature ourselves. It's not comfortable to grow up. It's not comfortable to embrace how flawed we are as humans and really deal with that. I had to be very honest with myself to be able to mature past the response of becoming defensive. Defensiveness is one of the 4 horsemen, y'all. The 4 horsemen are known to kill relationships. And defensiveness is what happens if and when you aren't accountable to yourself. A mature person holds themselves accountable before anyone else has to. If somebody else has to call you to the carpet to make you accountable, you have not been accountable. And if you get defensive in that moment, your immaturity is showing. It sounds wildly simple, and it is simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. It's not easy till we get a whole lot of practice with it. And then it's certainly not comfortable. It's just easier. We get to practice so that we can learn to say, I'm sorry, I dropped the ball. Or, wow, I really screwed that up. Or, I own that. That was my responsibility and I failed. Or, I'm sorry, I said I would do that and it didn't get done. That's on me. If we cannot own the missteps and mistakes and failures that we have over a lifetime, particularly when we are growing and learning something new, evolving, then we won't mature. And maturing is good. None of us have to be perfect. We never had to be perfect. Growth is allowed. Owning mistakes is allowed. This may be the answer to the next question I get a lot. What actually is healing? When it comes to our emotional sides, our mental relationship with ourselves, what healing is maturation. Actually maturing our parts that are stunted because of trauma or family of origin issues or circumstance. Or maybe we stumbled into addiction without even a whole lot of trauma first. Maturation and authenticity, y'all. These are the things that aid our nervous systems to navigate the world with healthier boundaries and more peace. We can't have boundaries if we don't mature into boundaries work. We can't have peace if we don't mature from a sort of middle school, adolescent drama. Maybe, just maybe, healing is maturing and growing and developing our parts that have been underdeveloped, whatever the reason.